This is the greatest company in the world!
Halo Pencari Cuan, lo pasti tahu adegan film apa ini?
Sell me this pen.
Yes, ini adalah adegan dialog Sell Me This Pen yang dimainkan Leonardo DiCaprio dalam film The Wolf of Wall
I
Street.
needed to mold them in my own image.
Film The Wolf of Wall Street bercerita tentang pialang saham Jordan Ross Belfort yang namanya sangat terkenal di pertengahan tahun 90-an. Melalui perusahaan investasinya, Stratton Oakmont, ia berhasil menjadi orang yang diperhitungkan di Wall Street. Setelah bertualang di dunia saham, kini dia beralih haluan menjadi investor, pengusaha, penulis, dan pembicara internasional. Seperti apa sosok kontroversial Jordan Belfort? Gua beruntung bisa ketemu doi dan ngobrol soal kehidupannya. Thank you again, Jordan. Really appreciate your willingness to talk to us. And we understand Indonesia is probably the first and only Asian countries that you're going to visit within the year of 2023. Probably the first and only year. Again, you mentioned this is your second time.
Yes.
What is your impression about the country?
Indonesia?
Yes.
Well, it's a lot of traffic. I think that when I was here last time, I did a very large event here, and then some people actually flew to Singapore for a follow-up event, and so I really got to know a lot of Indonesian people, and I think that what I noticed is that the work ethic here is incredible. People are really willing to work here, and I think people sense there's a lot of upward opportunity, mobility in the economy. So my impression is very positive in terms of, I think it's a place where people want to become wealthy. There's a very strong work ethic. And so I think that I think the country's more prosperous now than it was when I was here last time. And I think the next 10 years will be very good to it.
Okay, awesome. Talking about opportunities, you mentioned about this is a country with potential opportunities. Have you actually looked into it? I mean, what is the possibility of you setting up a business or anything, capital market wise or anything in Indonesia? Have you ever, looked at it and even consider it to have anything that's going on?
Well, listen, I just finished writing a book about how to make money in the stock market. It's called The Wolf of Investing, right? It's actually coming out in a few weeks from now, and I really get into really the question of how do you build wealth in the stock market the right way, not in crazy get-rich-quick schemes or penny stocks or crypto. I'm not saying there's not opportunity in anything, but how do you take the money that you earn from whatever either business that you own or a job you have, and slowly but surely build a portfolio that can amount to huge money over time, right? So I think that by writing that book is the first time I really started focusing on the capital markets again, in terms of just what I teach people around the world. In the last 12, 13 years, I focused mostly on salesmanship, entrepreneurship, but I haven't really gotten involved in capital markets. So this is the first time I really started veering back into it. I thought it was necessary. It was really the right thing to do. And the book, I think, is incredibly informative and kind of gives people a turnkey solution to how you make money in the stock market. So we'll see what the future brings. I mean, I'm not against, doing business in Asia. I've taught all over Asia. I know there's huge opportunity here, but again, right now, I haven't. The first step was to write this book.
Okay.
We'll see what it brings.
All right. Talking about capital market, and you say it's a slow and steady process. Again, for me, persistence and consistency is number one, especially in capital market. I'm also a player there, so I can relate what you say. Can you elaborate more on that?
Sure.
In terms of risk management, in terms of waiting for the right setups, in terms of whatever, can you elaborate that?
So I think that what people have difficulty wrapping their heads around is that they'll look at the current amount of money they have to invest, and how much they could conceivably add to that every month, every quarter, right? And because the amount they have is not massive, it's not in the millions of dollars, right? Or hundreds of thousands. Maybe they only have $10, $20, $30,000, maybe even less, right? And they say to themselves, well, if I'm gonna get rich in the stock market, I would have to make an extraordinary return. Like I'm gonna have to double, triple, quadruple my money every few months. Like in order to really get rich with that small amount of money, I have to be very aggressive. I have to trade in and out and get big home runs and play options markets. And that's not true, because what people don't understand is that there's something called long-term compounding that occurs when you are investing in something over the long term. And while it takes a significant amount of time for compounding to really work its magic, with compounding and a steady return, for example, the S&P 500, if you just compound the S&P 500 over 25, 30 years, even a small amount of money becomes millions of dollars if you add to it a little tiny bit each month. So a simple strategy like that, which by the way is proven to be the most effective strategy of all, indexing, right? It requires patience. Doesn't require that much money, but if you're trading in and out and buying and selling and trying to time the market, listen, if you're a professional investor with some sort of edge, like for example, if you're in a huge firm that's engaged in high frequency trading where you're able to beat the market by milliseconds and get a better return like that, or if you're one of a dozen hedge fund managers out there in the world, maybe one of 5 that can actually beat the market on a consistent basis, you have that special ability, maybe, yeah, you can do that. But the average individual, it's been proven that over time, that most people that try to time the market and play short term don't make much money at all. They usually either lose money or barely break even. While people that engage in long-term indexing do much, much better. In fact, they can compound at an average of 10.8% per year. Now, some years you'll win, some years you'll lose, but over the long term, it averages 10.8% a year. If you reinvest your dividends and you add a little bit of money to it each month, let's say even $100 a month to it, when the late stage threshold of compounding hits, after 20 years or so, even that small amount turns into millions of dollars. And that's the secret, is to really have, as you say, to consistency and patience, and not to get sucked into the latest, today I should be buying high tech, tomorrow I should be buying oil stocks. You're gonna end up losing like that. You're not gonna make money. So if you wanna follow Jim Cramer on, Cramerica, you're gonna get blown up, it just doesn't work. So the formula I lay out for people in this book is a very pragmatic, proven formula that kind of takes down every academic study that's been done in the last 100 years. And it just shows the person reading it that, listen, if you really want to make money in the market the right way, you're not going to be trading in and out and trying to time the market. It just doesn't work.
Totally understand. Totally agree. I think I'm a believer of, there is a saying, keep investing until your 1% can buy you a Tesla. So I think what you said is right.
Let me give you an example here. I don't know if you do this in Indonesia, but there's this thought experiment we all do in the United States as kids. You hear this thing: take a penny and double it every day, and in 30 days you're a millionaire.
That's right.
It's actually you're worth like $10 million. In 30 days you have like 10 million, right? But here's the thing: I did that when I was a kid. I tried it, and what was shocked me is on day 21, I only had $5,000. Like nothing really in the beginning. It doesn't seem to be working. Like a penny, 2 pennies, 4, 8, 16, 32. Day 5, you have $1.28. It's like you're like, this is not going to work, right? After 2 weeks, you got like $30. Like, wait a second. But then suddenly, between day 22 and day 30, it goes parabolic. It goes wild. So that's the way compounding works. So you don't see the results in the beginning, but then suddenly at the end, it just shoots up, and you end up with a vast sum of money. So people who are in their 20s or 30s or even 40s, it's not too late to start. You put money into an instrument like the S&P 500, and you add a little bit each month, and that late stage threshold of compounding hits, you could have a massive nest egg waiting for you when you retire.
That's right. I think what you mentioned, indexing, is totally correct. And then I think there are instruments like that, which is called low index fund, yeah. And then it's you don't have to pick any individual stock.
Exactly.
All you have to do is just ride with the index.
Yes. It's Warren Buffett. If anyone asks Warren Buffett, he'll tell you, just buy the S&P 500. It beats everything over time, And those few hedge fund managers that can, there are a few that can beat the S&P, but they won't take your money. They don't need your money. They're using their own money and a few investors. You can't get into those funds. All the good ones are closed. The ones that will take your money are the ones that can't beat the index. So they'll gladly take your money and charge you 20% of the profits and 2% management fee every year, right? But after you subtract those, you're going backwards. So, this is all, it's interesting because it's like the worst, and it's the best and worst kept secret on Wall Street. Everyone knows this. Everyone, if you ask me like you, I have no doubt, of course you know it's the truth, but and everyone knows this, but everyone's like, shh, let's get people to trade and invest. And turn on CNBC, for example, and they're trying to get you to whipsaw every single day and buy this, sell that. And it's just, people, they don't end up making money like that. They lose money.
Agree. All right, so let's, move a bit. I just want to know that your reputation and your life is full of dynamic. And I think it also intertwined with the character that played by Leonardo DiCaprio in The Wolf of Wall Street. I just want to know, I'm a big fan, watch it over and over again. I just want to know how accurate it is. And if there is differences, where is it?
Well, the movie's very accurate in some of the things that, you would think that couldn't have possibly happened. They happened, they're all true. The main things that are different are the sequence of events is not in the exact order. So some things are out of order. Some, they only have 3 hours to tell someone's life, right? And that's a long movie, 3 hours, right? And so they collapse characters, like, for example, the Donnie character, right? His name is Danny. That's like 4 people wrapped up into one person.
Okay.
It's like anything bad, you give it to Danny, right? Yeah, right. So so that's an example of where they kind of cut corners there just to make it a better, more understandable movie. And I think Scorsese's genius in the movie.
Love Scorsese.
Yeah, he's great. And what he did was really smart. Is like there's one scene that you really can see it play out where Leo is talking directly to the camera, and he says, at 3:42, we released the stock for trading. The 18 million shares we had in our rat hole accounts, we bought back at $4 a share. We then took it. He goes, you know what? You don't care about any of that shit. All you care about, we made a shit ton of money. In other words, he actually says, I know you don't care about any of this stuff. Like, Scorsese didn't try to explain what we even did. He just said, it wasn't all legal, but you don't want to know the details. So I think there was an effort that Scorsese made in the movie was to not explain the details of what I did, what was legal, what wasn't legal, right? And to make up for that, he used what was more visceral, like maybe the companies were bad companies, they weren't real. That wasn't accurate. That was not true. The companies were real companies. They were venture capital. If they weren't real, we would have been shut down in a day. They were in business 10 years. They would have been shut down in a day, right? It wasn't, what we did wrong, what we did, it was illegal, was manipulated stocks, which is, very common on Wall Street. Now, I'm not saying this make two wrongs make a right. I should have done it. But the point is, I think that in the movie, you might walk away with the impression that we were trying to lose people money. And that's just not true. You would never try to lose someone money, because when they make money, you make a lot more money. So like, you would love to always make your clients money. There was never an effort to lose people money. We were just dealing in a very speculative area of the market. So by its very nature of that, people are going to lose money more than they make money. It's very wildly speculative. And then the things that we did that were illegal were very esoteric, like breaking securities rules called free riding, things the audience wouldn't really care to know about. They were more, because I think in a movie, what's really more interesting are the characters, are the people. So it's not like the movie's about Wall Street, but it's not really about Wall Street. It's about people that are, young, wild, get consumed by greed, but also pick themselves up from their bootstraps, like start with nothing. So it's very aspirational. And, then the way I come back at the end after I lose everything, come back and then become, a sales trainer. So the movie's very aspirational. So I think that, what the movie really gets right is the feeling of what it was like to work at Stratton, how much fun it was and how quickly it grew, and the sales aspect, the meetings, the motivational, the sales training. So it got a lot right, and the things that were wrong were really just more like glossing over most points,
Agree. And again, the capital market, I always mention this to everyone, it's just a zero-sum game.
Right.
You don't get emotional or personal. It's just a zero-sum game.
Right.
And what you mentioned about value investment and everything is actually try to make people on the correct side of the table.
Exactly.
Now, I want to ask you something. Stratton Oakmont, what a great name. Right. And the lion, what a great animal. What is the aspiration?
So I got lucky with the name. So I bought a firm named Stratton originally, and then I bought another firm named Oakmont. I merged them together. So I got lucky with the name, but I was aware of that, and I certainly would have changed the name if it wasn't a great name. But in the future, after that, I opened up other brokerage firms. One of them was called Monroe Parker, which we just invented the name because it was a great name.
Is it Monroe as in Marilyn Monroe?
Yeah, no, Monroe in Monroe was one of the first presidents of the United States. Okay. And Monroe Parker is an old waspy name. You wanted the name to instill like old Wall Street, old money, came over with the Mayflower. So there's an image that strikes in the mind. So the name was Biltmore Securities, right? So yeah, the name matters for sure. And I think the name is not good. You could get around that. You can still make money, but it certainly helps to have a great name.
Yeah. Okay. Now I want to ask about what's a typical, day in the life of Jordan Belfort at the moment, and now, how do you define yourself? Because you've been a great salesman, you've been a great investors, writers, international speakers. So how is it to define you now?
Well, I'm a husband to an amazing woman, a father to two amazing children. I'm an entrepreneur to this very day who loves starting businesses and growing businesses. I love mentoring people. So, I'm many things to many different people. And where I am on any given, I wouldn't say any given day, but any given few months of my life might be very different. Like sometimes, for instance, I wrote this book recently. So I finished the book about 6 months ago, right? But it took me over a year to write it. So during that year, I'm an author, like that. You know what I'm saying? So I'm focusing on typically one thing or two things and really putting my energy into that at any given time. And I also enjoy having some downtime too. For example, if I'm not on tour around the world and I'm just home, a lot of us just stay home for a while. We don't like to go out that much. We like to enjoy our own home. We live on the water. It's beautiful. And we enjoy staying home. And the worst thing that ever happened, these delivery services, every restaurant now delivers food to your door now. We call it DoorDash in the United States. It's like it's the bane of everyone's existence. Like, why go to a restaurant and they just bring the food right to your house now? So the older I get, probably the more I enjoy staying home and have fewer friends, but really good ones.
Agree. I think you really appreciate all the little things now, in life as you get older. Okay. I think, there are so many instruments in the market now. Now, let me ask you, what is your most favorite instruments that you, in terms of financial markets here, financial instruments, that you are currently really into it? Is there anything specific?
S&P 500 index fund.
Awesome.
I just, listen, Vanguard's got a great offer. There's a few of them that are really good, but Vanguard's awesome. So just, you really, when it comes to putting real money to work, you can't beat that as a long-term investment. Balanced out by some bonds as well. But I personally, because I have expertise in it, I love venture capital. So I probably am more heavily weighted than most people would be in venture capital and startups and stuff like that. And I still invest aggressively in those as well. But again, that's a specialized skill I have. I wouldn't recommend that to another person that was just trying to dabble in venture capital, because you're probably going to lose.
It's a complex investment.
Yeah, well, a lot of it is getting into the right deals, and it's
different.
It's not just the idea, because there's a lot of great ideas and a lot of terrible people to execute them. And they're not as it's easier said than done to take an idea and turn it into a real company, and more often than not, the people are not going to succeed at that. So you have to be very careful who's managing the company, what are the smart capital, who all the other investors are.
Agree. The devil is always in the detail.
Yeah, exactly.
Again, you mentioned about Vanguard, yeah. I mean, they have VOO.
Yeah, the Admiral shares, yeah.
Very awesome. Thank you, guys. This is very important for our viewers. This is,
They should all buy my book when it comes out, by the way.
Of course. Please let us know.
Wolf of Investing. You can get it on Amazon.
Yeah. It's moving on again. I think I try to understand your view on blockchain and cryptocurrency in general, because it kind of changed you. I mean, a few years ago, you sort of like...
I hated it, then I liked it more, then I hated it again. And so, yeah, it always changes. But I think that's normal. If your views are not changing and growing based on new information that you receive, it's like you're not living. I mean, part of life is constantly taking in the latest information and saying, am I right? Am I wrong? Do I need to change my, my outlook on something? So originally, I was very, very negative on crypto, very negative, in the early years, because it had all the earmarks of a major scam. Turned out I was 98% right about that. In other words, because almost every single coin out there, outside of Bitcoin and Ethereum, maybe one or two others, turned out to be completely worthless scams. And that, to this day, I stand by that. And I think that, I would avoid them like the plague. I don't think there's any value in them. And it's all based on the greater fool theory about, if I buy it at its price, hopefully there's someone even more foolish to me that will buy it at a higher price. There's no value being created there. There's no return on it. Now, Bitcoin to me is very different at this point. I think that Bitcoin is a legitimate investment. I think that that if you don't like crypto, then you should just stay away from it. But if you do like crypto and you want to do that, I think Bitcoin is good, and I think it will be higher. But you can't play it over the short term. It's got to be a 5 to 10 year investment. And I think you should take a small percentage of your capital and put it into that. I don't think you should make up the majority of your portfolio. I think it should be, probably under 10, but probably under 5% of your portfolio in Bitcoin. But if you really love it, you can make it a bit more. But again, it's still nascent in the sense that, there's still, well, yeah, you don't know where some governments are going to land on it still. So, but, less and less risk over time. But I would say that it's not a scam for sure. I don't think it's a scam.
Understood. It's not for everyone. But it's real.
Yeah.
And, with the halving coming and everything, I sort of put a chart of the price against the halving events.
Yeah.
What's your thought about it?
So, I mean, listen, you always say, what's happened in the past does not indicate what happens in the future, right? So in the past, every time you're at this point and there's this halving, Bitcoin rallies, and over the next year it goes, it's significantly higher, right? But again, I don't know. What the halving is that means the rewards that the miners receiving are being cut in half. So theoretically, the price should go up because there'd be less supply, new supply being created in the market, right? And less coins being created, and also, it almost has to go high to support, or else miners it's not worth it for them to mine if they can't make money at a certain price, right? But I think Bitcoin's in a very interesting moment right now, because I think this is the first time really where it's really been locked in a trading range, pretty stable trades for quite some time now, between 25 and 30,000. It's been pretty, for Bitcoin, it's been really stable lately, And I think what that reflects is sort of like, a lot of the wildly speculative money is out of it and more long-term money is in it right now. And I think that, as more and more institutional money comes into Bitcoin over time, If the SEC especially approves one of these, which they will, I believe, one of the ETFs, right? There's a bunch of them in front of the SEC, including I think BlackRock, Scholar, right? So I think that all those things bode well for Bitcoin over the next few years. But there's something about this halving that feels a little bit different to me than the other ones. I don't know, but I don't know. I really, you don't know. I find it very difficult to like invest in Bitcoin with like for 6 months or a year. Like I don't think it really makes sense to buy it because you think it's going up in a year. I think you should buy it because you think it's going to be much higher in 10 years. I think because I really believe it'll be much higher in 10 years. But it could take time for things to really to kind of solidify. Because, in the past, it's traded more like growth stock than as a hedge investigation, right? Or anything like that. It didn't pan out. But I think that probably will change over time.
I got into the first Bitcoin, I think, 10 years ago and never get up since. So I totally agree with you.
Yeah.
And then you mentioned about, it's quite stable at the moment. It's trading between the range 25, 20,000. Is that a sign of big institutions is doing, collecting it at the moment? Or you don't know?
I don't know. It's some of it like, listen, the truth, to be honest, you never really know with this stuff, What I do know is that, at least from the statistics I see, is that, right now you have the highest percentage of long-term holders in Bitcoin in history, right? So a lot of the hot money is out of it. What's happened is a lot of people buying on leverage and they get wiped out with every time it crashes. It's like insane buying Bitcoin on leverage, right? So, and also there's been real, undermining of confidence with things like FTX is a really big deal. Like that whole thing, and then what happened with Terra Luna. These are really big, kind of blows to the whole ecosystem. And I think set it back a bunch of years, significant. So I think it's going to take time. But again, the investment community has got a short memory with this stuff, But so I think that eventually that blows over. I think when you have these larger these name ETFs from BlackRock, whoever else goes in, yeah, right. I think that's going to make a big difference because you'll suddenly have a very safe way of investing in this for the long term. I think there's still the issue. I've gotten hacked. Exchanges are not safe. They're just not safe. They're just not.
Always save it.
But an ETF like that would be safe.
Always save it in a cold wallet.
Yeah. Well, that's what I have it now. But after I lost $300,000 in a hack, everyone gets hacked once. Yeah.
Oh, of course. I agree. No. Next questions. Yeah. I know when you start a company. I also started my own company several times. When you start a company, the most important skill that you gotta have is sales. Forget about finance, forget about HR, forget about everything. You sell and you deliver what you sell. Right. And there is an iconic scene in The Wolf of Wall Street where you talk to people telling them to sell a pen.
Right.
Tell me about it because I really want to learn your salesman skills.
Right. So what that scene's about is a great scene. And when you ask someone that really doesn't know how to sell you a pen, they'll just start like selling you a pen, like saying, "Oh, this is the best pen in the world. This pen never runs out of ink. It's the best value for its money. I'll give you 2 for 1. It writes upside down. It was used by NASA on the moon." Blah 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 blah. Right. But the truth is, to sell someone a pen, the first thing you have to do is start asking them questions. So the point is, to sell someone a pen or sell anything for that matter, it starts off by asking questions, finding out what their needs are, what type of pens they use in the past, what are they going to be using a pen for, or do they even need a pen right now? Because one of the key things about selling is identifying people who need what you're selling or want what you're selling. A lot of salesmen, they waste their time talking to people who aren't qualified, can't afford what they're selling, don't want what they're selling, don't need what they're selling, and yet they sit there and waste their time trying to convince someone who doesn't want something or need something to buy from them, which is a very common rookie mistake. Versus trying to reach out to large numbers of people, sift through those people by asking questions to find the ones who need what you're selling, who can benefit from what you're selling, and can afford it, and then present the opportunity to those people. So the selling this pen thing is really about asking questions to whatever it is you're selling, and then using the answers to those questions to decide whether or not this person should be sold to, and then using the information to craft the right presentation.
So you're saying, I mean, by asking questions, you can filter out who will need your services or your products and who will not. Is that...
Part of it is that. In other words, for example, when you have a sales operation, you're always going to have a marketing operation too. You have marketing and sales, they go hand in hand with each other. Sometimes the salesperson can be doing the marketing themselves in the form of telemarketing, but there's always, marketing is like this sort of outreach to large amounts of people. You're sifting through people to try to find people that want what you have to sell, need it, and can afford it, right? The biggest mistake you can make is you try to pitch everybody and you waste your time making presentations to people who don't want what you're selling, and then when they don't buy, you're like, oh, I guess I'm not a good salesperson. The fact is, like, I couldn't have sold the person, even I could, because they don't want what I'm selling and they can't afford it. So it starts by identifying buyers. Who are the right potential buyers? That's the first part of any sales operation. And then once you've done that, then transition into offering them a solution, which is your product. But it always starts by asking questions.
Okay, interesting. I think next question, what do you think the essential skills to be a good entrepreneur? And then I'm trying to resonate to what you're gonna talk later on this evening. So you're going to talk about business transparency and entrepreneurial integrity.
Right.
How important it is. So yeah.
So number one, I mean, when you say the most important skill or skills, right? There are some that are critical, right? Mission critical. One is that to be able to sell a vision about what you're trying to accomplish to other people. You're not going to be able to do it on your own. You have to attract other people to work for you, to help you turn your vision into reality. And great entrepreneurs, almost universally, are great at selling a vision for the future. They see an opportunity, they see the world a different way, they see a better product, a better solution, and then they are so passionate about that, and they get other people to buy into their passion with their time, their money. So that's a critical skill. So you could have the greatest idea in the world, but if you can't get other people to want to spend their time helping you make that a reality, it's very difficult to be an entrepreneur. It's a one-man show. You're a sole proprietor, right? Now, if you don't possess that skill, you could surround yourself. You could have a partner. So you have a Wozniak had a Jobs, right? So for every Wozniak, there's a Jobs. But someone is going to be passionate, and that's going to just break the mold and basically see things a better way and be so convincing about that and get other people to help them make it a reality. Elon Musk is another example, right? Another thing is really, having the risk tolerance. Because entrepreneurship, no matter how much you try to mitigate the risk and there are things you can do, it's a risky business. You're going to fail more than you succeed as an entrepreneur, right? And you have to be willing to fail and learn from those mistakes and then pivot and try again and so forth, right? So I think having the natural risk tolerance is another critical skill. And then also is surrounding yourself with the right people. In other words, not thinking that you know it all. So people that are overly cocky as entrepreneurs, you could be confident, and you should be confident, and have this vision, but also know that you need other people to help you turn it into reality. So you have to be willing to bring in other great people who possess the skills that you lack.
Agree. Oh, well, we all think that we are Superman until we realize we are not.
Well, you need, part of being a great entrepreneur is know thyself. Know what you're great at and know what you're not great at, and surround yourself with people that are great at things that you're not so great at.
Yeah, I think I need to mention, there is a podcast from Ray Dalio saying, all of these great people They understand what they cannot do and they try to compensate it what they can do.
Right. Or just surround yourself with people that are good at the things you're not so good at.
Agree. All right, last questions before I mention a closing. This is actually something different. If you are about to be born as an animal, what kind of animal that you choose? Is that a lion or
Wolf.
Okay.
No, really, what would I be? What animal would I be? Good question. Yeah, I think a lion would not be to be the king of the jungle would not be so terrible. But I think I have to go with the wolf.
the wolf?
Yeah, wolf is incredibly adaptable. It's pack animal, runs in packs, mates for life, and can make anything. Wolves can make it anywhere. They can survive anywhere.
Again, Jordan Belfort, the one and only, the real Wolf of Wall Street, the wolf. So thank you very much for your time.
Pleasure.
Itu tadi chit-chat tipis-tipis bareng sang legenda Jordan Belfort, The Wolf of Wall Street. Lu bisa ambil banyak pelajaran dari cerita doi. Wait. Lu pasti bertanya-tanya, gue tuh siapa? So misterius banget. Sepanjang obrolan tadi, gue tidak menampakkan muka. Tenang cuy, gue akan ungkap siapa gue sebenarnya. Gue adalah Mr. Cuan, kucing lucu nan imut yang bakal jadi temen ngobrol lo soal keuangan. Impian gue cuma satu, gue bisa sharing semua pengalaman gue dan bisa bikin lo semua merdeka finansial. Gue akan bongkar semua pengetahuan gue di katalog setiap hari Minggu pukul 17 waktu Indonesia Barat. Jangan lupa subscribe YouTube Kata Data Indonesia dan juga follow Instagram serta TikTok gue di @thereal_Mr. Cuan. Gue Mr. Cuan, see you.